my mic is on. Can you hear me? Great. Welcome to Tuesday, March 10th, Carmel Clay Park Board of Park and Recreation meeting. I'd like to go ahead and welcome everybody. Jonathan, would you go ahead and take the roll, please?
I will. Andrew Bradford.
Present.
Jim Garrettson. Here. Jen Christunis.
Here.
Kristen Coquet.
Here.
Katie Mueller.
Here.
Josh Orahood.
Present.
Reedy Shukla.
Present.
Mark Westermeyer.
Here.
And I am present. All members are present.
Fantastic. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:03. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We will move into public comments. Curtis, any public comments this evening?
Madam President, nobody from the public is present that I'm aware of that wants to make remarks.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our staff reports. Again, Curtis?
Thank you, Madam President. Standard staff reports are included in your park board packets. I also wanted to point out that in each of your packets, you should have this fancy implementation status report. As part of the 2025 to 2029 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we developed a strategic action plan. That plan serves to as a mechanism for tracking progress of the department's goals and objectives. This implementation status report is something that we prepare, staff prepares, and we do provide this to the park board on an annual recurring basis. We also put this on our website so that the public has a clear update on how effectively those goals and objectives are being implemented. Of the 19 goals established in the plan, our department initiated 89.4% of them within the first year, which is absolutely extraordinary. And it's a great demonstration of momentum and progress that our department's making. And of those 19 goals, those 19 goals are supported by 90 individual objectives. 56 of those objectives are currently either active or they're marked as complete already. Again, I think that level of progress in the first year of implementation is absolutely outstanding. And I also think that it is a big testament as to why of the dedication our staff makes to this community, making it one of the top places to live, work, and play in all of the U.S. So with that, happy to answer any other questions. Also wanted to point out that summer camp registration got underway towards the latter part of February and beginning of March. So just want to report some statistics on that. 7 out of our temp camp weeks are 99 to 100% full. Our most popular camps thus far are the summer experience at Creekside. It filled up, the very first camp to fill up. Camp Wayback was actually almost full after early enrollment. And our Adventures in Art camp is full for all 10 weeks. We have 1,545 individuals on the waiting list, and like we've done the last couple of years, we do hire an intern and we work diligently to get those individuals enrolled in some camp week throughout the season. So, and we're always looking for more spaces to run camps. So if you have any ideas, let us know. We would totally entertain those. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I'm using a wireless mic tonight because I got sick and tired of the echo every weekend or every week at park board. And I actually like to talk, believe it or not. So I thought with a wired mic that's not echoing, you might have to hear from me a little bit more.
Well, so since you're doing such a good job speaking, let's go ahead and can you highlight a few things from the staff reports? So I noticed that there were some things covered. We had a couple banner unveilings. And I know that we missed, because of the microphone issue last month, a couple things that you wanted to share with us. If you don't mind, can you just share a few things?
Yeah, so 2 things are highlighted, 2 articles are highlighted in staff reports. The first one is we're the recipient of another award from the Great Lakes Park Training Institute for Burr Oak Bridge. I believed it received I can't remember the exact name of the award. The Facility or Program Award. I'm sorry, the Facility or Program Award from the Great Lakes Park Training Institute. So that is highlighted in here. Neil Whitehead and a number of our staff members did attend the conference, and they went and received the award on behalf of Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. We'll make sure that we bring that award to the next park board meeting so that you guys have an opportunity to see that. And yeah, like you said, we were able to raise 2 banners. First time I think we've had a double banner unveiling ceremony. First banner that we unveiled was the reaccreditation of our summer camps to the American Camp Association, which is very exciting. And then in 2025, our department was the recipient of the Outstanding Agency Award from the Indiana Park and Recreation Association. Also, just another testament to the dedication of our team. I think we have the best team anywhere around. So again, happy to answer any questions that you have.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thanks for everybody that attended those banner unveilings, by the way.
Perfect. Mark?
I think the banner unveiling was epic. I mean, it's the last time I saw anything so marvelous was when Ben Johnson did it.
Historically speaking, we've had some challenges with banner unveilings, but for a moment, I thought that we were going to have one this last month, but they did both get unveiled, so that's the key.
Finally.
Absolutely.
So, Curtis, I have a question, which actually started off as one question that's turned into 2 when I actually went further into the report.
Very good.
On the 12-month trailing financials, extended school enrichment 108 shows from May to present to January, it shows an increasing revenues and expenses, but the gap stays about the same. Yet our net profits went lower during that same time period. And then on the Monon Community Center, I saw the same trend. And that was, except there in the Monon Community Center, it started in maybe July, where the total revenues and expenses stayed just like you'd expect. They're both increasing, but staying within their margins, yet the net profit was decreasing. And I think I can think of a number of reasons that could happen, but I wasn't sure if you might have an explanation at all.
My theory for both is that I think the cost of goods and services has increased exponentially in the last couple of years post-pandemic. Inflation's been a little bit higher. We've, even with like some of the stuff that we're acquiring for the MCC, chlorine, some of those different things, you're seeing like tariff fees being added to invoices and things that we receive. I think with ESC though, I think the compelling reason for this is post-pandemic, we really struggled with staffing, and staffing is expensive. And so I think what you're seeing is at the discretion, or unfortunately what you're seeing is, while it looks like the net profit is exponentially higher, it came at a cost, and that was, we just
Well, the
needed
net
more
profit
staffing.
is decreasing, but your expenses were staying par. So it's not an expense issue from what I'm seeing. It's the actual amount of profit is going down, even though everything else is increasing. And that's a trend that I haven't seen in quite some time. I'm not even sure I've seen it in a long time.
The ESC expenditures are continuing to go up. I think what you're saying is the revenue has basically flatlined. My logic for that is that
The net revenue,
correct.
not the gross. Yeah.
The net revenue has flatlined. My theory for that is that every 2 years we do a fee increase, and that is
And that's
contributing
a
factor as well.
possibility, but to see that in ESC and in the Monon Community Center at the same time makes me look at it a little bit different than that.
Yeah, I
I think there might be some underlying reasons, but I'm not sure what they would be since I've not seen that in the history of the department.
in 22, 23, and 24 at the MCC, because of inflation, we actually did increase our fees every year. In 25, we did not. So I suspect that that's the biggest reason why that's dipped down a little bit. But again, I probably need to, this is probably something that we need to just do a deeper dive into.
Well, I
just to
think
make
at
sure
some
that-
point in time when we have a finance committee meeting would be an appropriate time when we start getting ready for the budget for next year.
Sure.
To take a harder look at that. Because I've always looked at the trailing financials as the trending for the future.
Yeah.
And this would not be desirable trending for the future.
We did, I think utilities are actually probably contributing to this quite a bit as well. I think one thing that we did as a department that is a saving grace for the MCC is the Guaranteed Energy Savings Agreement that we did a couple of years ago, which allowed us to, update some of our infrastructure as it pertains to, our mechanical systems. We just got our first report with regards to that, and the cost of utilities has gone up exponentially. And had we not implemented a number of those improvements, we would have probably seen our expenditures probably would have been at least $100,000 to $150,000 higher last year alone. So that'll be interesting to see how that impacts things long term as well. So I think this could probably actually be worse. And I think we talked about this a little bit last year too. I think this is one of those things where, post-pandemic, when you're looking at the net income, especially for like ESC, it was consistently over $1 million. I'm not sure that is where I expected us to be long term. I think this is one of those things where I think, like you said, maybe at a future finance committee meeting where we talk about what is the new norm, where do we want that net income to be long term, and kind of determine if this is the new norm, or if we want that to be higher, what adjustments do we need to make to help increase that?
Well, obviously, as long as it's positive, that's a good thing. But if it continues to trend down, that's not a long-term sustainable.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at the ESC trend lines too, like if I do a rough kind of average line, and we can take a look at it and let Excel do that for us, but looking back to 2010, it feels like we're getting back to the typical average as opposed to, we had obviously the huge dive in the middle of the pandemic, and then we skied post-pandemic, and when I'm looking at ESC, I think those higher net income levels are almost exclusively attributed to the fact that we were understaffed.
I agree.
And we're not understaffed anymore.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be maybe not 100% of the reason, but for ESC, I think it's probably going to be close to 80% of the reason, if not greater. MCC, I think, because the trend line only goes to back to 2014. In that same time frame, it also kind of feels like it's in about the same trend, but I'd like to see the data back a little bit further. But I think it warrants looking at those a little bit closer.
Yeah, that was my opinion, is not to really have an answer to it, but to say, hey, here's something that looks different, which has been going on, but very, very slowly.
To stay competitive with ESC, like post-pandemic, if you remember, we were having to make constant adjustments to what we were paying our part-time staff just to stay competitive because we literally couldn't find staff. It got to a point where our full-time staff were having to fill in to make the ratios, the staff to student ratios and stuff. So I'm nearly certain that, and again, we can take a longer look at this, but I'm nearly certain, like Michael said, that the net income with regards to ESC is attributed to just being understaffed. Period. And I do think that the MCC will bounce back a little bit because we did just facilitate fee increases in 2026, but also we've seen the cost of doing business there has gone up exponentially as well.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We are getting into probably a new normal, so
Yep.
we'll see how it goes over time, though. But thank you very much.
Great question, though.
As it's March, as treasurer, Mark, would you like to have the finance committee meet with Michael and Curtis, or just Curtis, and discuss this further?
I don't think we have to do anything special right now because we're looking at a 12-month window, and it's just showing a trend.
Okay.
So our monthlies don't look bad at all. So I don't see a problem on a month-to-month basis. I'm just seeing this trend. And I think when we start looking at the budget, when we're all focused on all the numbers that's going on, it's the appropriate time to look at it.
Okay.
If I can. And Curtis, you mentioned challenges with staffing. Is that still prevalent for you guys in ESC?
No, we have invested heavily in talent acquisition. That's something that we've gotten really savvy with the last couple of years. And I think we're probably, right now, knock on wood, we're doing way better in that department than what we've ever done before.
Great, congrats.
Yeah, and the challenges that we had before, it certainly was a industry-wide challenge, especially for after-school childcare in general and stuff. So it wasn't that we were outside the norm, it was just a norm no one was happy with. So like Curtis said, I think we've had a talent acquisition, but we bumped up and provided even additional support staff to help with us getting the people that we need, and just how we go after the mediums that we use to reach out to potential candidates has become a lot more savvy and a little bit more effective. And quite frankly, what we also find is when the economy gets tighter, which is an economy we're certainly in right now, it typically is easier for us to get staff. So, I think and that's not to discount what the HR team has done. They've done a phenomenal job, but I think all those factors are working in our favor.
I think that the other thing that we've done phenomenal as a department as well is we've invested in our people. We've become, not that we weren't very focused on our culture previously, but I think post-pandemic, we've really invested in our staff significantly, especially the last 3 or 4 years. We established a culture club, I think, in 2022, and man, they're doing some wonderful stuff for our staff, and I think that's keeping our people around a little bit longer as well. So I'm really happy with where we're at staffing-wise, for sure.
Well, ESC staff are an extension of the Bradford family. Both our kids are there full-time, and I've got to say, they're just remarkable. You've done a great job.
Appreciate that.
They care deeply for our kids. We feel that they are in entirely safe hands.
Awesome.
They're being not just entertained, but educated and cared for. And so kudos to you all, and special shout out for Ms. Simmons and Mr. Ramos over at Forestdale. Just exceptional members of your staff, and excited to see where it goes from here.
We'll make sure we pass that along.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Great conversation, everyone. We will be moving to committees. Mark, Finance Committee.
We have not met.
Okay.
And
Thank-
Curtis, do you know when you probably won't be until April or May that we get any instructions from the mayor's office?
We haven't received guidance yet from the city of Carmel, but I have put together budget workbooks, and we've started having some conversations internally. So I know, like, the PNR team's already started working on their 2027 budget. As soon as I have some guidance, I'll reach out, and we can start to get, some dates on the calendar.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then moving on to the minutes.
Madam President, I move that we approve the minutes from the Park Board meeting on February 10, 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan, and then Katie. Anyone have any questions? Okay, we'll take the vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the motion is passed. I really like the roll call vote. Could we just go back to that? So much easier. Okay, perfect. Moving on to the financial reports. Mark?
Yes, ma'am. I move to accept the consolidated financial report for January 2026 and the Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation P&L statements for February 2026.
Second.
Perfect. Thank you for the motion, Mark, and second, Jonathan. Any questions on our financials? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passed fully. Perfect. And claims?
I move to approve the claim sheet for March 2026 and the Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation payroll for February 6th, 2026, as well as February 20th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you, Mark and Katie. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Moving on. Monetary gifts, grants, and partnerships.
Thank you. So last month we had 2 contributions, one sponsorship for our cabanas for this coming summer from Grand Appliance and TV for $1,500, and then our donation from our anonymous donor of $100 towards staff appreciation.
Thanks, Eric. I will take a motion for this, please.
Madam President, I move that we accept the monies as received.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan and Katie. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the monies, please say aye.
Aye.
That has passed as well. Moving on to new business, consideration of Resolution B. Curtis.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight I'm asking the Park Board to consider Resolution B-2026-002, which is a request to replace the selectorized strength circuit equipment at the Monon Community Center. I think all of you are aware that the MCC has a longstanding reputation as a top-notch fitness facility in the area, and maintaining that reputation means that we have to continue to reinvest in our equipment so that members have reliable modern machines available to them. The existing Matrix strength circuit was purchased in 2019. It is heavily used, it is extremely popular, especially with the older demographic. Because of that heavy use, it has reached the end of its useful life. We talked to Matrix, who is the manufacturer of the equipment, and they let us know that each one of our pieces of equipment has between 6 and 8 million reps on each one. That is significant. I'd love to know where that ranks, in the hierarchy of fitness facilities nationwide. I wonder if they can give me that data. You think?
Well, I
That's a
know
lot of
there's a
reps.
private club on the west side of town that opened at least several years before the Monon Community Center, and most of the equipment, if not all, is still original. So it probably has more, but it also has multiple years more of use on it.
I just thought you'd find that statistic interesting. When the current circuit was purchased, it did include integrated video consoles. These were designed to provide guided instruction and workout education. If you want to see what those look like, there is in the first attachment, the second photo, you can kind of get an idea of what that integrated video console looks like. Since then, however, the way that people interact with fitness technology has really changed significantly over the last 6-7 years. Most members are now using apps on their phone or even wearable devices to track their workouts. And industry trends show far less reliance on built-in machine consoles. In fact, manufacturer data that we again received from Matrix indicated that less than 0.5% of our users actually engage with the integrated fitness console. If you remember when we had this conversation when we replaced these the last time, we were upgrading from a system called FitLinks. So we've really evolved in the last 15 years. But basically the functions that people use most are really just the rep counters and the timing functions that are on those pieces of equipment. Because of that, staff are recommending that we move away from the full video consoles and instead we incorporate just simplified electronic rep counters that still support our members who prefer basic workout tracking. We are extremely happy with the Matrix Ultra Series machines, and we have also obtained great feedback from our users with regards to these machines, from recent surveys that we've provided to our members. Therefore, our staff are recommending that we require the newer generation line of Matrix equipment. Additionally, I just want to point out that improved design would allow us to position this machine side by side, which would allow us to accommodate 22 machines instead of the 18 that we have now. And then eliminating those intelligent consoles also helps us clear out space clutter from the cords that have to be plugged into the floor. So that's another bonus. Because Matrix equipment is sold exclusively through BGI Fitness, which is the representative or they represent Matrix in the central Indiana, it's their territory basically. We did work with legal counsel to prepare a resolution authorizing a special purchase under Indiana Code for single source procurement. BGI Fitness provided us a quote of $130,506. That price does include trade-in credit for the existing 18 pieces of equipment that we have. Again, we're going to be getting 22. They would remove the old equipment and they would install the new stuff. It also includes shipping and warranty coverage. Again, like we have been doing for the last, 10, 12 years. We're getting a 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. So we buy that up front. That way, if something major breaks on a piece of equipment, we're not paying for that out of pocket. We've paid for it via the 5-year bumper-to-bumper warranty. If approved tonight, delivery and installation are expected within about 8 to 12 weeks once the order is placed. And for that reason, staff are recommending approval of the resolution this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Curtis. Are there any questions for Curtis? Mark?
I assume you still move the machines so that they stay consistent?
The circuit that we have now, not so much, just because of spatial constraints. If you approve this equipment this evening, we would have the ability to rotate this on a more regular recurring basis.
Now, for the cardio machines, we will make adjustments because
Yes.
that way, there typically are more popular spots, so
Yes.
those can be adjusted, but for the selectorized equipment,
Yes,
it's
all
not
of
quite as customary.
all of our equipment is rotated. That's a great point. All of our cardio equipment is rotated. The selectorized machines are not currently. They will be if we acquire this type of machine. And the free weight area is predominantly left the way that it is.
And then this is just one-to-one replacement plus 2 more?
Correct.
So you're not looking to add something new?
I should have.
Or is there anything new?
There are, the 4 pieces that we are getting are completely different pieces that we don't have currently. I can't remember what they are exactly. I meant to write that down or jot that down before I left, and I completely spaced it, and I didn't do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Andrew?
Yeah, you might have to separate. Mark and I were noisy down here on this side of the table. No, I would just, Curtis, maybe small recommendation. Having run a membership program, the loss of anything, even if it's not a real perceived value loss, could be a perceived value loss if those screens go away. And so I might just equip the MEC staff with these kind of stats that say, hey, less than 5% of people were actually using these things. And no, we promise you, we're still giving you everything that you
Absolutely.
deserve, right? Just watch what comes back to you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I actually asked a lot of these questions of our staff before I even brought it to Park Board. So I'll definitely make sure that they have that information before we put the new ones out on the floor.
Good. Otherwise, very exciting.
Thank you.
Mr. Garrettson? You ready for a motion? Of course. Thank you.
To approve resolution B 2026-002.
Second that.
Thank you, Mr. Garrettson and Andrew. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passed unanimously, and I believe that's it for new business. Moving on to old business, we have consideration for the final design and administration of the, oh, sorry, did I skip something?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry. Consideration for the final design and administration of Autumn and Veterans Greenway. Michael?
Absolutely. And if you could put my slides up. Coming shortly. I do want to note that this particular thing, we are looking to have the Park Board approve the contracts with Engineering Resources Incorporated and Y Engineers to prepare the construction documents so that we can go out to bid for these projects, as well as help with project administration as it's going on, customary things that we ask of our design teams. I do want to note that this is actually not for all of Autumn Greenway. I want to make sure that it's clear that we are only looking at doing the Greenway networks that are west of Guilford Road. Still waiting for the screen to come up. Yep. There we go. It was green, but it wasn't coming up. So to help give some orientation as to what we're looking at, the right side of the screen is Guilford Road, and right here is Grand Boulevard. Down below here is Carmel Drive. So we're looking at constructing the trail from Guilford Road, north of the Lakes of Carmel Apartments and just south of the Twin Lakes Apartment. Autumn Greenway for this west section would ultimately come out towards Old Meridian Street here. So It would go in between basically the apartment complexes that are there, and then come to the south and finish along the perimeter path to go out to the roundabout at Grand and Old Meridian Street. Just for orientation too, just north of Twin Lakes is where Carmel Middle School is located. For Veterans Greenway, we would be starting at Autumn Greenway, going north, crossing Grand Boulevard, going into Olden Woods, which is owned by Carmel Clay Schools, and I've been having conversations with school administration. So once we have finalized plans, we will bring this in front of the school board. But we've been working currently with school administration to ensure that they're open to what we're suggesting. And then this location here, actually right where I am currently is where the VFW is. There's a Home to Suites hotel right here along Old Meridian. This location that is empty, which a few years ago was very heavily wooded. The previous owner removed all the trees in preparation for development, and then they couldn't develop. And a new partner, Rebar, ended up purchasing that. There's going to be a 55-plus multifamily development here called the Heron Club. And then there'll be 1.6 acres that we've purchased, and thanks to collaboration with the Carmel Redevelopment Commission, that will become the future Veterans Park. That trail will go on the east side of that park and then end on our portion of it will end just south of the Icon on Main, which is a new development that's going kind of behind where Brewburger is. And that developer will be creating the trail that connects it to Old Meridian just south of Main Street. So that's the portion of the trail we're doing. Our vision is also to include Autumn Greenway to the east of Guilford that would ultimately connect towards the Monon Greenway. That's a separate phase. I want to make sure that we have enough funding for the Veterans Park and this first phase before we go into the next phase. We also know in this particular phase, we're dealing with big property owners, 3 apartment complexes, there's a private or a building, right here that we need to work with. There's the school corporation, there's our property. I've already talked to Cunningham Group, which is more than willing to give us the easement we need to cross their property. And then, of course, working with Icon. So there's a lot less entities that I have to work with. And then, of course, we're... Exactly. And then we've got Rose, which is doing Icon, which we're working closely with. When we go east of Guilford, there's a lot of private property owners. So it's going to be a little bit more intensive. So before we go that route, I want to make sure we have the funds to actually construct it, because it's not worth having those conversations at this time if there's not the funds in the first place. Additionally, I want to make sure that we're able to get this first portion done quickly, because Veterans Park is on a tighter time frame. So that's also helping drive this. And I didn't want the Greenway network on the west side of Guilford to get sort of delayed because of conversations we're having on the east side of Guilford. So to me, it's a prudent use of our time and resources at this particular point in time. We have 2 separate contracts. Engineering Resources is actually doing all of the actual engineering work for the Greenway. And Y Engineering is doing all the landscape. So that way we make sure that we get exactly what we're used to. They've been working very collaboratively. They're the same team that has done the preliminary work to identify a feasible route. And now we're working on the final components of it to make sure that we can construct it. With that, the contract for Engineering Resources, $204,828. The contract for Y Engineering, $178,675. We did have our owner's representative review it to make sure that the pricing was appropriate, and they gave a favorable recommendation. All of this funding will come out of the 2024 City Infrastructure Bond Project, so it's already funded, should the Park Board approve it. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions the Park Board has.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions? Andrew?
I've got one. So middle school kids to me are like water. They take the path of least resistance. And so I'm just curious, anything we need to do for an unintended consequence of this path of now it becomes sort of like the gateway to the school for kids in these apartment complexes and everything over here?
There's already an existing fence line there,
Oh,
so
great.
it's already well segregated. And the good thing is too, actually, I just walked the route that we are wanting to do through the woods.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we always try to do when we're going through a wooded area is try to address we want to avoid the big trees and the more significant trees. So we walked the route and staked it to minimize the impact on that. And that actually takes it even a little bit further within the wooded area from the school. And then once you get to the area where the track is, again, not only do you have the fencing, you have the bleachers. And based on some of the designs that we have, actually there's going to be there's a little creek that goes through the property where Veterans Park is going to be located and the Heron Club. They're actually, for the building project, having to relocate that creek, and that creates a further boundary between the schools and the trail. So those are all things good questions and things that we wanted to make sure we addressed as well.
Awesome. Thanks for the diligence.
There's got to be several thousand people living in that.
There's quite a few. When we're out there on Monday scouting the route through Odin Woods, you've got, of course, Icon, which is under construction, which will be the northern terminus for Veterans Greenway. You have all the apartments and condos on the west side of Old Meridian Street. You'll have the new Heron Club, which will have quite a few residents. You've got Providence and Twin Lakes and the Lakes of Carmel. There's a lot of folks that live in that area. So I think this will be a popular greenway network. And then as we connect this to the Monon corridor, we'll be effectively connecting the Old Meridian business corridor to the Monon business corridor via a off-road, completely off-road greenway network. So I think it's going to be something that's well appreciated by our residents, whether they happen to live in that part of town or visiting that part of town.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any other questions for Michael before we entertain a motion? Okay.
Madam President, I move that the Park Board accept the proposal from Engineering Resources and enter into an agreement in the amount of $204,828 for the final design and administration of the Autumn and Veterans Greenways.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan and Andrew. Any further questions? All those in favor of Jonathan's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Motion number 2, please.
Madam President, I move that the Park Board accept the proposal from Y Engineering and enter into an agreement in the amount of $178,675 for the final design and administration of the Autumn and Veterans Greenways.
Jonathan, and I believe that was Reedy, is that right? Yep. Thank you, Reedy. All those, or any final questions on motion number 2? Okay, all those in favor of Jonathan's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And motion 2 passes. Thank you very much. Michael, thank you. And I believe that concludes our old business for tonight. We will move into attorney's report. Mr. Bosma, thank you for coming this evening.
Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Good to be with you. Didn't have a very rough month on legal matters with your team last month, but we did finalize the master management agreement with the city. That's before the Board of Public Works for approval on their part. Still working on the build, operate, transfer agreements for Bear Creek. We did receive the preliminary final specifications from Smith Group, which will be attached to that agreement, so we'll move forward on that in the next couple of weeks. We have an RFQ from staff for a paver project at the Midtown Plaza, which we're reviewing, and we've got a few real estate documents that we're reviewing for you. So that's about the size of it. Happy to answer any questions. Mr. Garrison.
Not about that, but the legislation that was introduced in the House that would have done away with our township failed. And the
Well, it
Senate
did not.
version passed.
They were combined. So the final result was a combination of the two concepts. The House forced the reorganization of many townships, including, it would have included Clay Township. The Senate's version had a scoring mechanism in it. They combined the two so that under certain population levels, there's an automatic reorganization for some townships. Everyone else is scored, and you have to, if you have 4 or more points in the scoring matrix that was put together, you had to go through a reorganization. We did the calculation for Clay Township, and they scored 1 point on that. So
We're safe.
you're safe for now.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bosma. Any other questions for our attorney? No? Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Moving on to director's report. Michael?
I figured I would kind of give the annual report, if you will. I believe we already distributed the written annual report, but I kind of gave a highlight in my February quarter report to City Council, so I wanted to share some of the highlights from that here with the Park Board as well. And I picked 3 numbers that kind of represent Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation pretty easily. The first one is 710 acres, and 710 represents the number of acres of parkland that we have in Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. That's increased by 285 acres, I think within the last 8 to 10 years. So we've grown pretty significantly. Some of that, a good portion of that actually through management agreements that we were able to do with the City of Carmel. So it wasn't a cost to our taxpayers, but managing resources that were better identified as parks as opposed to just unmanaged space. So we're super excited about that. 18 parks, 5 greenways. I also like the 700 number because that represents approximately how many full, part-time, and seasonal employees we have at peak employment during the summer, which makes us almost as large as the City of Carmel. In December of 2025, the City of Carmel had 739 employees, so not quite as large. They obviously have more full-time employees than what Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation does, where we have more part and seasonal employees, but nonetheless, we're quite a significant operation. The second number that I like highlighting is 74%, which represented our cost recovery for 2025. If you take our $14.2 million in revenue that we generated through user fees, that could be through memberships at the Monon Community Center, day passes at the water park, registrations in our various programs, including ESC, summer camps, and all of our recreation programs, we generated $14.2 million, all non-tax dollars. And then if you take our operating expenses last year of $19.5 million, that includes everything at the community center, water park, again, ESC and summer camps, all of our programming, as well as our park operations, not capital development. You divide the 14.2 by 19.5, you get the 74%. Just to put that in perspective, according to the National Recreation and Park Association, the national average for park systems for cost recovery is 27%. 74% for us, 27% for the national average. Also, if you dig a little bit deeper into those numbers and you just look at traditional parks departments that fall under a city, town, or village, that number actually falls to 24.9%. So I think that speaks to part of the advantage that we have as a joint department between the City of Carmel and Clay Township, because it allows us to manage things a little bit different than your traditional municipal park system. So, yes, sir.
While you're on that, I wanted to ask tonight, the water park is a big fundraiser for us, really.
Mhm.
Yet it's not only serving 106,000 people in our township, there are probably 300,000 people below Highway 32, plus Marion County, plus Zionsville. It seems to me we're getting a lot of people because there aren't any other water parks around. And is there anything we can do that gives an advantage to our own residents?
Mr. Garrettson, sorry, can we hold that one question until Michael's finished with his director's report, and then he can come back to it? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So going back to the 74%, I also like that number because it represents actually on the low side, the percentage of natural areas that we have in the park system. So if we actually have 80% of our 710 acres is in some type of natural state. That could be woods, that could be prairie, that could be open water. Again, that's a pretty high percentage for a municipal park system. And then the third number that I like highlighting is 6.3 million. That's the number of visits we estimated having to Carmel Clay Parks in 2025. That includes the nearly 700,000 visits that we had at the Monon Community Center and Water Park. To put that in perspective, if we were a national park, we would be the second busiest national park in the country, ahead of Zion and Grand Canyon National Parks, which each had about 4.9 million visits in 2025. So I'll let that soak in a little bit. So 6.3 million visits. It also speaks to why it's critically important that we reinvest into our parks, the capital assets that we've constructed, because we get a lot of people that are using them. I mean, roughly 400,000 visitors to Westermeyer Commons and Central Park, the playground there. Millions of people on the Monon Greenway. And when you have that many people using the assets, it's a lot of wear and tear. So I'm incredibly proud of our Parks and Natural Resources team, our Recreation and Facilities team, to keep our assets in top rate. But it also speaks to why it's so important to maintain excellent relationships with the City of Carmel and Clay Township, which are funding sources to help do the capital repairs and replacements to keep our assets top rate, so people want to spend their discretionary time and income with Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation, so that we can also keep that 74% number for cost recovery. So this is a milestone year for Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. We will be celebrating August 20th is officially the date that the original joinder agreement between the city and township was signed. So we will be 35 years old this year. And we've accomplished a lot in those 35 years. And it's certainly been part of the partnership that we've had between the city and the township, having a park board that has been dedicated on looking at planning for the park system, not only immediately, but visionary into the future, as well as I think, best-in-class staff that makes the magic happen. It also takes capital funding, and taking a snapshot as to why I think the legislation that preserved the township was so important. When we took a snapshot of 5 years of capital funding that Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation received, for every dollar that Clay Township provided, the city of Carmel provided under 3 cents. In impact fees, we got about 11 cents. To put those in numbers, during that 5-year time frame, Clay Township provided $56.2 million, the city of Carmel $1.5 million, and other resources, including impact fees and our own generated funds for $8.8 million. Now, I also want to say that during that 5-year period, the amount that the city provided was small. The city has provided significant funding since 2023. The 2024 capital bond project is over $22 million in funding from the city of Carmel, but also Clay Township has continued to provide funding. So it's not to say that the township is the only reason that Carmel Clay Parks happens and is always the only one that provides funding. It takes both partners to create the park system that we have. And I'm super excited that fortunately, at least at this time, the legislation allows that to continue, as well as the interlocal agreement that was approved by the city and township last year. We had some milestones last year, none more notable than the opening of the Burr Oak Bridge, which is another example of collaboration. In this one, it was an $11.3 million project with $5 million coming from Clay Township, $3 million coming from Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation, $1.6 million coming from Hamilton County, $1.3 from Delaware Township, and $400,000 from Fishers. Actually, it was 11.4. I said 11.3. We dedicated that on October 20th. One of the other big projects that we premiered last year was the Kids Zone, which has been transformed into the Monon Station, our new indoor playground. Pictures alone don't do it, so that's why we have the video going. And added since we opened was the airway system that had the tubes that the kids can put Nerf balls or these kind of scarves into it, and super playful. But what's important about this is an example of Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation making investments to ensure that we are able to continue to generate revenue. So what we did is we took the Kids Zone, which was our on-site babysitting service, which was at capacity, but one of the only spaces in the Monon Community Center that had not been renovated since the facility opened in 2007. We took the neighboring space, which was originally the cafe, which was not the biggest success, and converted into a multi-purpose room, which was viable for a period of time, but as we started using more and more of the program space on the east side for active programming, it was a little bit of a wonky space, so ultimately it became an underutilized portion of the community center. And anytime you have a lot of real estate that's not contributing towards the cost recovery, it's just certainly not helpful for achieving 74% for the park system, 100% for that facility. So working with staff, looking at needs of the community, looking at feedback we receive from members, one of our goals was to create world-class parks, of course, with dynamic playgrounds. And the one thing that we were really missing in our community was an indoor playground. To get a large indoor playground, you had to leave Carmel. And so this provides that opportunity. It also serves as a mechanism to encourage people to have youth or household memberships for the community center. What we historically see at the Monon Community Center is as you get into about October, November, our memberships go up. You get into New Year's resolution and they stay high, and then about this time of the year they start cycling down. And then it comes to summer season, and in June and July those numbers go back up, and then the kids go back to school and the numbers go back down. And to use a COVID term, which at the time was not my favorite of anything, but one of the goals for COVID was to flatten the curve. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish with the indoor playground. If we can encourage some of those families that get the memberships during the summer to use the water park, to be able to continue those memberships in the fall and the spring times of the year, those numbers all drop to our bottom line. And what we've witnessed when we looked at January 2025 numbers and January 2026 numbers, there was a 14.4% increase in the number of family members that we have at the community center. I'm not going to say 100% of those numbers are attributable to Monon Station because there's been other marketing efforts as well, but a significant portion of those were. So again, trying to provide those ways to ensure people want to spend their discretionary time and income with us so that we can continue to achieve the cost recovery expectations for that facility. Last year, we also acquired the Silas and Hannah Moffett House adjacent to River Heritage Park, which is adding 3.22 acres to our now 43-acre River Heritage Park. We are continuing to work with Ball State University and their architecture program to do a deep dive assessment of this house. We know that this is the second oldest brick house in Hamilton County, behind only the Connor House, constructed in 1827, so getting close to celebrating its 200th anniversary. So we hope to be able to use this for programming purposes. We fully anticipate it. It's actually in pretty good shape for a 200-year house. But we're looking at what are the things we need to do to preserve that house, and then that will help us as we do feasibility studies as far as how do we program this house in the future. Also working closely with Clay Township, as well as some funding for the water components of it from the City of Carmel. We just reopened the Japanese garden. We'll be having a ribbon cutting for that in early May 3rd, I believe it is. We'll send you the invitations. And then, of course, Brian talked a little bit about this as well. We've got the awarded contract to do Phase 1 development of Bear Creek Park. So we have the schematic plans from Smith Group, which as we finalize the contract with our build, operate, transfer team, they'll take that to construction documents, and hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be breaking ground on this new park in Northwest Carmel. And then next week, the playground pieces for Phase 3 of Monon Boulevard will be delivered. I believe it's on Wednesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Wednesday is when it's actually going to be set. So there's going to be some huge cranes just south of City Center Drive that are putting this into place. And we're super excited about this. This is another partnership between the City of Carmel, Redevelopment Commission, and Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. And we also are eagerly looking forward to the opening of the White River Greenway North extension. Basically, we need the final coat of paving, and we'll be able to open it. There will also be some landscaping that's transpiring there. So hopefully April, May-ish, we'll know when Mother Nature will ultimately determine, because it'll be based on when the asphalt plants open. But we are getting close to that great project open. And he kind of stole my thunder, but that's okay. The banner ceremonies for the Outstanding Agency Award in 2025 from the Indiana Park and Recreation Association, and the reaccreditation of the summer camp program through American Camp Association celebrated those. So super excited. Those are team efforts, including the park board, that makes those things happen. And to me, as I explained to people in attendance, you know, it's fun to be able to have these types of awards to celebrate. But to me, we don't do it for the awards. The awards are a validation that we are providing the highest level of services to the residents of Carmel and to the visitors of Carmel and Clay Township. That's why we do it. But it is fun to be able to celebrate those accomplishments. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions the park board may have.
Michael, thanks for all of your updates. If you don't mind, Jim had an open
Yes.
question on the floor.
So the question pertaining to the water park, I think it's important for us to remember that the water park was specifically designed to be a regional draw. It was designed not to serve only residents of Carmel and Clay Township, but to serve the greater community.
But Carmel and Clay Township residents paid for it.
They did pay for it, but without the non-residents, we would not be achieving 100% cost recovery. There would not be enough Carmel residents for that to happen. Now, what we do to, that not the best grammar there, but what we do try to, or have implemented with the park board's permission, is that we do provide resident discounts. So residents do receive a discounted rate when they're purchasing day passes to the Monon Community Center. So that is a means of recognizing the residents' contributions to it. But without non-residents, we do not achieve 100% cost recovery.
How many days was it packed and you had to stop letting people in until people left?
That's been something that has occurred every year since we've opened. The number of days is really, I think it's important to remember that the capacity of that water park is 2,200 under state law. We have purposely reduced that capacity to 1,600 to create a more enjoyable environment. It also better matches the participation in the water park to the parking lot, so that you don't have people parking in places that they shouldn't. What we also find is that when we do have to go to one out, one in things, that very seldom does it take more than 30-minute wait to be able to get into the water park. So it's timed pretty closely to the natural cycle of which how long people stay in the water park.
Less than 10 maybe. I also want to point out that if you have a membership to the water park or to the community center, no matter if, even if we're at one out, one in, you can always get into the water park because you have a membership. So we just stop selling day passes when we go to one out, one in.
I do not. It's part of the operational model that has made us successful. And I think if you mess with it, you stop achieving 100% cost recovery and you have bigger issues. It's a regional attraction, and regional attractions that aren't popular don't make money.
I'll take it a step further because I think this would be more than a water park issue. I don't think the MCC fund would generate cost recovery, period. I think it would be close to break even, but I'm not sure that it would actually make money
The water park is critical to our cost recovery model.
because of the number of day passes that we sell.
Now, if the city of Carmel or Clay Townships wants to subsidize our operations, then we can talk differently. But I haven't heard any elected officials say that they want to subsidize those operations. Until they do, the model that we have has been proven very successful. And I think it's important to remember that we have an approval rating, customer satisfaction rating for the Monon Community Center of 93%. Tell me what has a 93% cost recovery or 93% approval rating. Well, I'll tell you one. ESE has a 98%. Extended School Enrichment, the after-school program,
That would be our other program that we operate.
at cost recovery.
Yes. Well, thank you for all that information. Does anyone have any other questions or comments for Michael on his comprehensive director's report this evening?
Thank you for the statistic about the national parks. I had no idea that if we would be the second largest. I love these data stories. So job well done. I think it's remarkable. And as someone who is in that Monon Center through the winter, through the summer at the parks, I will tell you the suction thing with all of the balls, and added benefit of it is you can place your parent in the exact position where they then spit back out, and you can be charged with either getting knocked in the face or trying to catch them. So I'd encourage everyone to enjoy it. Job well done, guys. It's really remarkable.
Thank you.
So again, thank you for all of that. That is a great job. We will close the director's report area and move on to information items. Plan Commission, Jonathan?
Yeah, just a quick update. We did not meet as a committee last week, but we do have a meeting next week with the full commission. The last full commission meeting, though, we did approve a lot split back here on Cornell Street. It did receive some remonstrance, but we were able to move that forward. So the other project that was heard that evening that was continued is the redevelopment of the former RCI complex over on Michigan Road. So that'll come back to us actually on Tuesday next week.
Thank you for that.
I will note too, the RCI project with the impact fees and the number of proposed units in it, I think is going to generate over 1.9 to maybe over $2 million of impact fees.
School board, Katie?
I don't have anything to report, but I will bring the information regarding the Autumn and Veterans Greenways to the rest of the board members so they know what's kind of going on.
Perfect. And when is spring break again?
Carmel Clay School spring break is April 4th or April 6th through 10th. So it's just the 5 days. A lot of times in the past, we've had a Friday additional and a Monday. It's just the 5 full days of the week, the 6th through the 10th.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Climate Action Advisory Committee, Eric?
Nothing to report. We haven't met since January, so our next meeting is in 2 weeks, the end of March.
Okay. And then Parks Foundation, Mark.
The Park Foundation hasn't had a meeting yet this year. What the agenda was that we set was to work with Michael and Curtis and staff at Parks to develop a memorandum of understanding between the foundation and the Parks Department. And we did have a meeting last week to discuss that. We had hoped earlier, but there was this thing up in the air about whether what we were going to have funding or a township that took precedence, so we had to work around that. So I think we're hopeful that by the mid to end of the second quarter of the year, we'll have that crafted and out to the foundation members for a vote. I think the most important function of that is the foundation has existed of probably 80% of the members were former park board members, which means that they understand a little bit about the Parks Department and the relationship there. As some of those members were wanting to retire from the foundation, I felt it was very important when I took over that before we start bringing in people who have not been affiliated with the Parks Department before, that we had a memorandum of understanding so everybody knew what their role was and we didn't end up in a situation similar to what occurred up for Hamilton County Parks system. So that's where we are.
Perfect. Thank you for that update. And we look forward to the finalization of that memorandum. Park board comments and discussion. Does anyone have anything to share, add? Mark.
I would like to address the comment that Mr. Garrettson made. Since I was there in the beginning and met with City Council, and as we were obtaining the monies to fund the Monon Community Center in Central Park, City Council asked me if there was anything that could keep us from making cost recovery. And I said, there are two things. If you help us by telling us what rates are going to be or who the members are, I can guarantee you we will not make cost recovery. And the interesting thing is that within the first few months of opening, they did both of those things, and we did not make cost recovery until we got those issues resolved, and they allowed us to go back to the original plan that was part of the design of the water park. And when that happened, it was a miracle. We started making cost recovery. So that's been the history. Michael's exactly right that from the day one, before 1 ounce of design went in, before the first actual pencil drawing of what Central Park was going to look like, it was designed to be a regional attraction for all of Indiana and further if people wanted to go further. And that's where it was designed, and that's how it's still functioning today.
Thank you, Mark. Any other comments? No? I do thank everyone. Oh, I have one last thing. We have our workshop on, Michael, March
24th, I'm sorry. I
24th?
meant to say that during my report and forgot to do so. So March 24th at 6 p.m., we'll host it at the administrative offices off of 116th Street. So I'll send you out all an invitation. Our focus, and I'll work closely with Jen to work on the agenda, but what I want to make sure that the park board is aware of is of the various projects. I kind of gave a high level of some of the things we accomplished, but there's other things that are in earlier stages of planning that I think it's important for park board members to be aware of. So decisions to come forward to the park board. I think it's important to have some of the conversations as far as a wrap-up of the legislative session, so explain, what did and didn't happen, as well as some other impacts from the legislation. Fortunately, this session at one point was going to be very scary for parks, but overall worked out just fine. Not just the township issues. So we'll review that and kind of some of the goals that we have, especially from a capital standpoint, over the next 3 or so years. So those would be kind of the highlights, but I want to work with Jen to make sure that we're in agreement with the agenda items, but look forward to those of you that will be able to attend.
Yep, and it will be casual, so make sure you're comfortable.
comfy.
6 to 8-ish?
6 to 8, no more,
Yep.
no more than 2 hours. When we get to the hour and a half, we'll make a decision, do we, how quickly do we wrap up, but we won't go past 8.
Okay, all right. Again, March 24th, correct?
Correct.
Tuesday. And if you don't know where the admin offices are located off 116th, it's right next to the dog park.
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. That will close our meeting at, sorry, I can't even see the clock. 7:12. I will take a motion. Perfect. Katie and then Jonathan. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.